Suzy es la fundadora de DINIE, una empresa que busca revolucionar el financiamiento en línea para comerciantes y fomentar la inclusión financiera. Hoy DINIE es el principal facilitador para plataformas en Brasil, siendo una precursora en el servicio de préstamos integrados. Entonces, es interesante, teníamos la visión de Eva desde el lado del inversor, ahora vamos a ver la otra parte, la visión de Suzy desde el lado de la emprendedora. Muchas gracias, Suzy.
Wonderful, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to know who here is a founder. Please raise your hands. Wow, exciting. And who are the VCs? Oh, I'm safe. I'm not gonna get beaten up. All right, great stuff, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Suzy Ferreira, founder and CEO at Genie. So we are on a mission of increasing access to working capital for small and micro businesses in Brazil. And what drives us is the potential that credit has to leverage companies, to leverage their growth and lead them into prosperity. And I had a personal story about that, which I'm gonna share with you. So today, it's gonna be about my personal story, which is very much a story of building resilience, because it hasn't been easy in the last 4 years. It has been crazy, and many of you probably have faced similar experiences. But I believe that it was those experiences that now made myself a very resilient person. And in fact, the whole market, as Eva mentioned, things have changed, things have transformed. In this story, I will particularly pay attention to the venture capital experience, because it's an interesting one. And yeah, I just hope to share a few of my insights during that experience. So, how did it all started? Genie did not start in a boardroom. Actually, it dates back to the 1990s from my father. He was a small business entrepreneur in the countryside of Brazil. That's where I come from. He didn't have access to formal education, very little financial literacy, but a man with a vision and with dreams. He was very much the very Brazilian hustler. And sadly, every time he would get to a certain stage in his company of potentially being able to go to the next level, he would need to use a bank and credit from bank. And we all know, and if you're from Brazil, you know, that small businesses are completely neglected by banks. So he would usually end up with overdrafts. In Brazil, we call them cheque especial, which has nothing special about them. In fact, cheque especial and credit cards lead a lot of these companies into bankruptcy. And that was a story. That was my story. I was around 9 years old. We went bankrupt. We lost everything, the house, everything inside the house, even the oven, which my mom is really, really annoyed about. She said that one was illegal because she couldn't feed us. So we were basically out in the street. But credit, my mom also used credit to then bring us back from that. She actually separated from my father first, and she took more loans to be able to rebuild the family. So I was able to see the negative part of credit, but also the positive part of credit, which eventually led me into studying at UCL in the UK, and then became a banker eventually. And I believe that I didn't just become a banker because, you know, I thought I just wanted to make a lot of money. I'm sure it was part of the story, but I had this drive within myself that I needed to do something. And I thought I could become an entrepreneur and I could potentially change things from within. So I joined banking and securitization. I then became a corporate lender. And at the time, I was lending to the largest corporates in the world. Jaguar Land Rover, Royal Caribbean, Unilever, those are my clients. And we're basically giving them loans at 20 basis points per annum, less than 1% per annum, when my father was borrowing at 600% per annum. So that led me to feel really, really frustrated. And also the lack of technology. Banks were still like with systems, processes, and culture of the 19th century. So I knew I could change that. It was that personal story together with my professional story that then led me to try to disrupt one of the biggest industries in the world. So fast forward 2019, that's when I started Genie. And for me, the product vision was very much natural because, as I said, I was watching my father. Every time his companies were in the reds, I realized that they had this need for a capital that was readily available. So in my mind, I thought, what if I could devise like some sort of credit wallet where these small businesses have access to credit at the click of a button whenever they need. Just 1 second, guys. You always get a little nervous and need a little bit of water. So what if I could devise a product that was similar to an overdraft and similar to the credit card, always available whenever they need, but that it gave all the transparency for the person that is borrowing, it gives them the reliability, and also make it cheaper and more accessible. And how did I manage to do that? Because I came up with this idea that credit needed to be part of the infrastructure of that small business. And I didn't want to build another bank. I didn't want to be a new bank. I was thinking, how is banking going to look like in 10 years' time? I don't think bank is going to be an institution. Financial services are just going to seamlessly happen on the background. That's when we had the idea of embedded lending. Back then, 2018, nobody was talking about embedded lending, by the way. Now it's a big thing. And with that in mind, we're able to approach one of the largest food delivery platforms in Brazil, iFood, as our first customer in 2019. And then after that customer, many others followed. And that is exactly that experience that now our small businesses have. They don't have to apply for credit. They are basically experiencing credit and financial services directly in those platforms where they operate. So from a product perspective and vision, it was very clear. From a fundraising perspective, it was not. So I was a banker before. I was very good at deploying capital, but not so good at raising capital. So I thought, how do I go about it? My husband was saying, actually, you are crazy. How are you going to build kind of a bank or something similar without having any money? And I was like, well, my father always said, when you have a purpose, the money is going to arrive. And then what I did was to go to conferences like this and talking to people, sharing my story, and then always trying to be at the front of these stages. Whenever the speaker would finish, I would be the first there to talk to the speaker, to get their contact. And in that way, I was building this network, a very rich network of founders, investors, the top investors in the world. In 2018 alone, I went to Money 2020 Las Vegas, Money 2020 Amsterdam, Money 2020, I think was Malaysia. Singapore. So I covered the whole globe. And at this point, I had everything that I needed. I pitched to a few investors. They were angel investors. One investor led me to the other. And suddenly, I have my team of investors, angels that were the first employees of PayPal. Others built payments companies and sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. These were people that have done it before, made tons of mistakes that enabled me not to make those same mistakes. So my experience with business angels was the best because you cut through so many things. They already did. Why you're going to make the mistake again? Sergio was also one of my investors, which I'm very proud of. So this was 2019, and we're launching November 19, and then 2020, there is a pandemic as we're launching. And then we thought, well, what we do now? Our investors were like, no, just wait and see what's going to happen. And we're like, but this is the time that people need the money the most. So we accelerate our business. We get a lot of traction. And eventually, we feel that we are ready. After raising $1 million from angels, having the traction, having iFood, thousands of clients, we know we're ready for institutional money. I think that was the mistake. So potentially it was a bit too early, and I will tell you why. But anyhow, we went out to the market. Business is booming. Customers are loving the product. We are having like 86 NPS with these small merchants experience our product. We go out to the markets, and it's around February 2021. And sadly, right in the first week of my fundraising, my father contracts COVID. My father, my muse, the whole point why I built Genie, suddenly, as I was pitching in my first week of a highly structured fundraising process, people didn't tell me. They just told me when he was about to go like into emergency. And as I was in a pitch, I even asked the guy, like, actually, just hold on, I need to answer the phone. I answered the phone and then came back to the pitch because I thought I may as well finish the pitch. I'm sure he's going to be fine. When I come back, he had already been taken to emergency, and I never saw my father again. And the reason why I talk about this is because investors must be mindful of founders. What we're going through, like all the things that we've given up all the time, you know, the families, the high paid jobs, and sometimes we don't feel that empathy. Sometimes we don't feel that they respect us. So respect the time of the founder, because we're doing something that is so hard and we're trying so much because we really do want to do big things and change the world. So fast forward, second part of resilience building, 2022. So after raising $3.8 million, which was an oversubscribed round, in fact, we raised almost 5 million, but we decided to only close 3.8. We then have this pressure from investors. It's time for you to deploy capital. And at this point, you need to grow, grow, grow. And all of the funds I was talking to, including Ribbit, sorry to put you on spot, but basically saying why you're not growing so too fast, or why you're not growing fast enough. And we're like, this is a credit business. You know, part of our business to understand, like to iterate on our models, to understand when the money is coming back, not just giving money out. So we can't grow that fast. But that was the sentiment in 2021. Money, growth, growth, growth at all costs. As a banker, it was strange to me, but I did it. What happened was in 2022, money disappeared. All the dry powder is gone. The market frozen. Companies' valuation collapsed by 50, 70%. We were about to raise a Series A. We had 7 million already in commitments, and we had to stop, and we had to completely rethink the way we're doing business. So stop thinking about growth, growth, and the investors were saying, "Oh, now it's all about profitability. What's your path to break even?" And we're like, "What? This is like a complete change, like within 6 months." But fair enough. And looking back, I think, okay, I could not have gone through that. But having gone through that, I almost feel lucky because we got to that point. But now we understand we should be building sustainable businesses. We should be profitable from day one. And we should be careful when you bring venture capital. It has been amazing, an amazing instrument for us, but it has to come at the right time. So, just to close, now how did we adapt to this new reality? So knowing that the world has changed, now it's time for us to rethink cost structures. So we went from a team of 26 to 15, which was really painful. When you're growing and you're so happy, like it's happening, and you have to reduce. But we did that really, really fast and really reduced our reduced our burn and massively increased our runway. We also pivoted to an asset-light model. So now we don't take risks anymore and we don't have to fund our portfolio. So what I'm saying is that as a founder, again, when this stuff happens, you need to move extremely fast. And again, you go back to those guys that were right at the beginning with you, the angel investors. They are there for you. They've gone through that with you, and they will be able to give you the support and the necessary advice to make those fast decisions. Sadly, I didn't feel the same from venture capital and from the funds itself. I feel like the narrative changed and they were not there to really support. I had some funds that supported us, but a lot of funds were not there. So we have to be careful. At the tough times, everybody has tough stuff to deal with. So we cannot really think they are at the same level as your co-founder or business partners. They have different incentives. So we need to watch out for that. So on a more positive note, all of those changes means that now we're a much leaner company. We're much more focused. And we now feel like we are ready to a more future-proof business. And yes, that's the note. I would like to say that going through this path of resilience is hard, but I look at it in a very positive note. And I think this is only going to make us much stronger and, ready for more adversities to come. But the market is looking better and more positive. So this is my story today. I hope with this, you're able to take a little bit of inspiration on building resilience, not giving up, and choosing your investors very well. Thank you very much.